Welcome to Story Time from Grimm's Fairy Tales. This is The Good Bargain. There was once a peasant who had driven his cow to the fair and sold her for 7 talents. On his way home, he had to pass a pond, and already from afar he heard the frogs crying, "Ack! Ack! Ack! Ack!" Well, said to himself, they were talking without rhyme or reason. It is 7 that I have received, not 8. When he got to the water, he cried to them, "Stupid animals that you are, do not know better than that? It is 7 talents, not 8. The frogs, however, stuck to their ack, 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 ack. Come then, if you won't believe it, I can count it out for you." He took out his money out of his pocket, counted out the 7 talents, always reckoning 4 and 20 groschen to a talent. The frogs, however, paid no attention to his reckoning, and still cried, "Ack, ack, ack, ack." "What?" cried the peasant, quite angry. "If you know better than I, count it for yourselves," and threw all the money at them into the water. He stood still and waited until they were through and had returned it to him. But the frogs remained their opinion and cried continually, "8, 8, 8, 8. And besides that, did not throw the money out again. He still waited a long while until evening came, and he was forced to go home. Then he abused the frogs and cried, "You water splashers, you thickheads, you Google eyes. You have great mouths and can screech till your eyes hurt and ears, but you cannot count 7 talents. Do you think I'm going to stand there till you get through?" And with that he went away, but the frog still cried, 8, 8, 8, 8. After him till he went home, sorely vexed. After a while, he brought another cow, which was slaughtered, and he made the calculation that if he sold the meat, well, he might gain as much as 2 cows worth, and have to hide into the bargain. When therefore he got to town with the meat, a great pack of dogs were gathered together in front of the gate, with a large greyhound at the head of them, which jumped at the meat, sniffed at it, and barked, "Wow, wow, wow." And there was no stopping him. The peasant said, "Yes, yes, I know quite well that you are saying wow, 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 because you want some of the meat. But I should be in a fine state if I were to give it to you." The dog, however, answered nothing but wow, wow. "Will you promise not to devour it all then, and will go to bail for your companions?" "Wow, wow, wow," said the dog. "Well, if you insist on it, I will leave it for you. I know you well, and know whom you serve. But this I tell you, I must have my money in 3 days, or else it will go ill with you. You can just bring it out to me." Thereupon he unloaded the meat and turned back again. The dogs fell upon it and loudly barked, "Wow, wow." The countryman, who heard them from afar, said to himself, "Hark! Now they all want some, but the big one is responsible to me for it." When 3 days passed, the countryman thought, "Tonight my money will be in my pocket," and was quite delighted. But no one would come and pay it. "There is no trusting anyone now," he said. At last he lost patience and went into town to the butcher and demanded his money. The butcher thought it was a joke, but the peasant said, jesting apart, I will have my money. Did not the big dog bring you the whole of the slaughtered cow 3 days ago?" Then the butcher grew angry, snatched a broomstick, and drove him out. "Wait," said the peasant. there was still some justice in the world, and went to the royal palace and begged for an audience. He was led before the king, who sat there with his daughter, and asked him what injury he had suffered. "Alas," said he, "the frogs and the dogs have taken from me what is mine, and the butcher has paid for it with the stick." And he related at full length what happened. Thereupon the king's daughter began to laugh heartily, and the king said to him, "I cannot give you justice in this, but you shall have my daughter for a wife. In her whole life, she has never yet laughed as she just did at you. And I promised to him, could make her laugh." "You may thank God for your good fortune, oh," answered the peasant. "I do not want to hear it all. I have a wife already, and she is one too many for me when I go home. It is just as if I had a wife standing in every corner." Then the king grew angry and said, "You are a boor." "Ah, Lord King," replied the peasant, "what can you expect from an ox but beef?" "Stop," answered the king. "You shall have another reward. Be off now, but come back in 3 days, and then you shall have 500 counted out in full." When the peasant went out to the gate, the sentry said, "You have made the king's daughter laugh, so you will certainly receive something good." "Yes, that is what I think," answered the peasant. 500 are to be counted out to me." "Listen," said the soldier, "give me some of it." "What can you do with all that money?" "And it is you," said the peasant. "You shall have 200. Present yourself in 3 days. Time before the king, and let be paid to you." A Jew who was standing by and heard the conversation ran after the peasant, held him by the coat, and said, "Oh, wonder of God! What a child of fortune you are! I will change it for you. I will change it for you into small coins. What do you want with the great talents?" "Jew," said the countryman, 300 can you still have. Give it to me at once in coin. In 3 days from this, you will be paid for it by the king." The Jew was delighted with a small profit, and brought the sum in bag Goshen, 3 of which were worth 2 good ones. After 3 days passed, according to the king's command, the peasant went before the king. "Pull his coat off," said the latter, "and he shall have 500. "Ah," said the peasant, "they no longer belong to me." I presented 200 of them to the sentry, and 300 to the Jew for change. So by right, nothing at all belongs to me. In the meantime, the soldier and the Jew entered and claimed that they had gained from the peasant, that they received the blows strictly counted out. The soldier bore it patiently, and knew already how it tasted. But the Jew said sorrowfully, "Alas, alas, are these the heavy talents?" The king could not help laughing at the peasant. And when all his anger was spent, he said, "As you have already lost your reward before it fell to your lot, I will give you compensation. Go into my treasure chamber and get some money for yourself, as much as you will." The peasant did not need to be told twice, and stuffed his big pockets whatsoever would go in. Afterwards he went to an inn and counted out his money. The Jew had crept after him, and heard how he muttered to himself, "That rogue of a king had cheated me after all. Why could he not give me the money himself? Then I should have known what I had. How can I tell now if what I have had the luck to put in my pockets is right or not?" "Good heavens," said the Jew to himself, "that man is speaking disrespectfully of our lord the king. I will run and inform, and then I shall get a reward, and he will be punished as well." When the king heard the peasant's words, he fell into a passion and commanded the Jew to go and bring the offender to him. The Jew ran to the peasant. You are to go at once to the Lord King in the very clothes you have on." "I know what's right better than that," answered the peasant. "I shall have a new coat made first." "Do you think the man with so much money in his pocket shall go there in his ragged old coat?" The Jew, as he saw the peasant, would not stir without another coat. And as he feared that if the king's anger cooled, he himself would lose his reward. And the peasant, his punishment, said, "I will not out of pure friendship lend you a coat for a short time." What people will not do for love? The peasant was content with this, put the Jew's coat on, and went off with him. The king reproached the countryman because of the evil speaking of which the Jew informed him. "Ah," said the peasant, "what a Jew says is always false. No true would ever come from his mouth. That rascal there is capable of maintaining that I have his coat on." "What is it?" shrieked the Jew. "That coat is not mine. Have I not let it out of pure friendship, in order that you may appear before the king?" When the king heard that, he said, "The Jew had assuredly deceived one or the other of us, either myself or the peasant." And again, he ordered something to be counted out to him in hard talents. The peasant, however, went home in a good coat, with the good money in his pocket, and said to himself, "This time I have made it." Grimm's Fairy Tales, The Good Bargain.